North too, and lots of Central Park. We're gonna talk in Bento box from North to Wharf. Yeah!
I like that one. That's
Hey,
solid,
everybody.
KSK.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome again. It is time for the Great North to Wonder Wharf Night Live. It's once again the newest, freshest episode of our brand new podcast, which actually is not brand new anymore, is it, JB?
I don't know when you can stop saying that. When do you say that? Maybe we need someone to tell us.
I think it's when you get past the network notes where they stop threatening to cut you off and cast you out into the snow with just newspapers for shoes. That's when
Yes,
you know.
that's when you know it.
That's it.
When we stop getting the cease and desist letters. Okay. I've been burning those anyway. We're good.
Oh, thank goodness.
Mhm.
Anyway, hi everybody. It's JB Keisuke. Unfortunately, Mike, our co-host, is not available today because, he's injured. He recently. Well, the story is, his wife Tanae is this wonderful fiber sculpture artist who works at the Florida State University.
Mhm.
She has shows all around the area, and they were traveling to one to set things up. And then a couple of nights ago, she fell off a ladder while she was setting up her show. She broke her foot. And Mike was left as the only crew to save her life, to get her to the hospital, to keep her safe. And now right now, as we speak, he is taking charge of taking down the entire show, putting it back on the truck and getting it ready for the next exhibition. And then he dropped something on his foot. So he's got a slightly busted foot as well. So everybody, if you could join us in sending your best wishes out to Mike and Tanae and hope their feet are both healing very, very quickly. It's just do a quick, sutura there.
It's our crawl.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm. It's all art crawl. Yeah.
This is the dangers of art.
Hopefully Tanae's artwork isn't being replaced by some Gail Anus paintings, but
So that's why it's just JB and I this week. And you may have noticed I appear to have gone back in time to like 1933. I got a new webcam, and for some reason, it doesn't like color. So it's a colorblind webcam. So this webcam was built and designed by dogs.
it's a good way to put it.
Thank you. So that's why you're looking at, Don Ho from 1948. Well, enough of this foolishness. We said hello, we've explained ourselves, and now it is time for the news. JB, you got anything for us?
Yep, I'll take it away, KSK. Yeah, we do have a little tidbit of news that came through this week. The first actual show from Bento Box's Princess Studios has been announced. Very quick. I mean, bought it, told us about it. Now the show's coming. So the first show that they have actually ordered is for Hulu. So if you have, everyone's on streaming now, but if you don't have Hulu, this might be a reason to get it. Koala Man is coming. And this is a show that is animated by, or a show brought to you by, it's Michael Cusack, Dan Hernandez, Benji Samit, and of course the great Justin Roiland. He's brought you Rick and Morty and all kinds of other shows. He's going to be executive producing this. So I would expect it to be similar, but on its own flavor. So we'll go ahead and post the one image that there is of Koala Man so you can see it, check it out, and kind of read up about it. There's not too much information yet, just that it's coming out of Melbourne, and we'll see it soon, hopefully.
Well, it's nice that they're keeping it local and going with a local animal from Australia, the koala. And koalas,
doing that.
Yeah, koalas have always been a very favorite. Yeah, they're a big favorite amongst animators. The big koala that I can think of right now is from that show We Bare Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he's voiced by the same guy who does Remy from Ratatouille, isn't it? The same. Patton
Oswalt. He does really good voice work.
He does. He sounds nothing like Remy when he does his koala. This koala is really brittle. It belies his cute cuddliness and his disgusting hands with multiple thumbs, which is what koalas are. They can throw rocks with like 6 fingers. Frightening.
I was just reading up on some of the things that some of these people have done, and it seems like Hernandez and Samit have been involved in shows like The Tick and also Central Park. So I guess that's where the tie-in comes in from Bento, was from working on that. And of course, Justin's got again, Rick and Morty. And he's also got the Solar Opposites that's real big now on Hulu as well.
The Tick, you're talking about the one that was way back in like the early 90s?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dang, I haven't seen that in ages. But it
Mm-hmm.
was freaking brilliant.
It was. They brought it back as a live action, and I think it made it a couple seasons.
It did, yeah. The first season was particularly excellent, I thought. All right. Oh, and we have another little bit of news too. For those of you who have been fans of us, first of all, thank you so much for doing that. But you may have also seen that we've started another little offshoot. We've already got like spin-offs of our own little brand from North to Wharf. We call this Release the Spoilers, and this is the spoiler releasing show where it's not a spoiler show. It's a recap show that we do on Facebook Live every Tuesday now. Mike and JB are the brainchildren behind this, and this is where we actually join in the Facebook group, which has 170,000 Bob Burgers fans, and together we do a show where we talk about the episode after 48-hour hold in the group. You have special guests already. You had one of the admins, Adam, in the first show. Mm-hmm. And you can actually join us there and interact in real time while we're talking about the show. And what better way to hang out?
Really, it's kind of like, it's something that I know me and Mike wanted to do. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun because it'll be a lot of fan interaction. And you're getting to basically me and Mike, who love all these shows and could nerd out for hours. And occasionally we'll get like other people trying to come in. I'm sure Mario will probably pop in once in a while to say, hey, another interview that we have coming up sometime soon, maybe. And who knows who else will come in.
Absolutely. I think it's a great addition to our universe. And please, people, join in, have fun, become a part of this. These two guys, JB and Mike, are masters of Bob's Trivia. JB, of course, is literally the trivia master for Bob's Burgers officially. And Mike did one of the very first podcasts for Bob's Burgers, which is how we met back in 8 years ago. It's been a while.
It has.
So it's going to be a great time. So it's going to be coming out on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to the Facebook group and give it a try. Interview with JB.
Our interview guest is actually, I mean, he's one of the big guys that we've had on the show so far. I mean, we have quite a few lined up, but this one, I was surprised he said yes, and he actually gave us a lot of time. So he must have thought we were pretty cool to hang out with. I'm gonna hope. But we got Joel Moser. He is one of the directors for this season's The Great North. He's also worked on shows such as Bojack Horseman. He did the first episode of Bojack Horseman. He also brought you the first episode of Big Mouth from Netflix. He also was able to work on Trip Tank, which is on the Comedy Central. He did Central Park. He's worked on like so many other shows and live action things. Like he's kind of done a little bit of everything, and he was able to be cool enough to sit down and talk with us and let us kind of pick his brain a little bit about the world of animation. How was it working on these shows, and what do we get to look forward to with new Central Park and new Great North? And without further ado, everyone, the great Joel Moser.
That I'm more horse than a man, or I'm more man than a horse. Bojack.
Welcome to North of Wharf. This is JB, Keisuke, Mike, and our special guest this week is Joel Moser, director of The Great North and many, many, many other shows. I mean, it's astounding how much you've worked on and how many cool shows you've been part of. So, I mean, let's just go ahead and just say, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So I thought we could start off with a couple just kind of like basic questions, some things that could be just kind of stuff fans would like to know. And for me, it's just kind of also, what was your favorite cartoon growing up?
Oh man. Well, I grew up watching, in the 80s. So it was like there's Saturday morning cartoons. The stuff that I really kind of appreciated the most was probably Disney at the time, because they made the sort of like the slickest, highest quality stuff. It's like the sort of the best thing. And when I was growing up, Saturday morning cartoons were terrible. They were just poorly made. But the thing that really caught my attention was when I was a teenager, the movie Akira came out. and
Yes.
at the time, I happened to know a Japanese exchange student, and he gave me a copy. He gave me a VHS copy of Akira because it wasn't well known here. And I watched it. There were no subtitles. I watched it in Japanese. I don't speak Japanese. And I understood, like half of it. And it just blew my mind. I had never conceived of animation like could be anything like that, just as effective and affecting and all that. And yeah, that became sort of like the high watermark for me in terms of what animation could do. So yeah, that's probably the one that I'm always thinking about if I'm like, well, what would I love to do? If I could do anything. Yeah, it makes you seethe with jealousy to watch the movie.
And you watched it like in a completely authentic manner, which is like VHS, no subtitles.
Yeah, yeah. And then later on, I watched it with subtitles, and I understood about 5% more of the movie. It's one of those movies that you have to watch it like 10 times, and then you start to get a sense of what the movie's about.
I mean, the ending's total Disney. I mean, it's happy ending.
Oh, yeah.
It's wrapped up perfectly.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing movie.
Yeah, for me, I think what got me into that kind of stuff was I think the cartoons that you probably are thinking about. I think I'm going to name a few. Let me know if they're part of that. But like Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, those kind of cartoons.
They were a little bit after. I was like a young teenager when those came out.
Okay.
When I was a kid. I mean, it was during the era where they were just trying to sell products and they were just trying to pump these things out. And there were some good shows. There was like, Disney's Gummy Bears, which is I thought was a really good show. And there were good shows, and there was like, Thundercats and things like that. They were pretty good. They never lived up to the promise of the opening for the show, but
oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I watched them anyway, but when you're a little kid and you don't know anything about it and you're still going, well, this animation kind of sucks.
It says something.
It may have sucked, but I was watching the Disney Afternoon when I was working at IBM at I was in my 20s at the time. So
oh, wow.
I'm with you. They were great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were good. I mean, their animation is so much better now than it was then that it's crazy. I mean, it's the TV in general is, but man, I think that in the 90s when Ren and Stimpy came out, just like after that, they were like, oh, we can actually make these things good. We should put a little effort into these things. But the good thing about growing up in the 80s though is that we did have Saturday morning cartoons, and it was just like, starting from early in the morning till noon or 1 o'clock. I don't even think that exists anymore, does it?
I don't think so. No.
They stopped that ages ago. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know for me it went from TGIF right into Saturday morning cartoons for me at least.
Oh.
And then you had Snick at night.
Of course.
For Ren and Stimpy, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Great show.
Nice. Yeah, Ren and Stimpy was one of my turning point ones when I was a kid. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I'd watch like Scooby-Doo and be like, that's a background. They just redid that background. Like,
yeah. Yeah, Ren and Stimpy was like, it was such a, I mean, it was, I always think of it as like a Pulp Fiction of animation, It just came along and just, whatever you were doing before that, we're changing. We're going that direction. And it was like a throwback to the Warner Brothers cartoons and that type of thing, but done in the early 90s. Was it early 90s, late 80s?
It was the early 90s.
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they took the whole basic concept of squash and stretch from the original concept, which was so fluid and rubbery. And then like Coco the Clown stuff got kind of rubber. Betty Boop got really rubbery. Then you get to the Disney Sleeping Beauty stuff, which is basically rotoscope. And then finally we get to this Ren and Stimpy stuff, which is insane. This stuff, it just was mind blowing for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that they were working with what they had, the budgets that they had. So you're never going to be able to do the Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny cartoons on TV, probably. Although maybe you could, but you know, they were doing, you know, really just an updated version of the type of cartoon that it was. It's like a cartoon with a capital C, and it's just a straight comedy. And that was just, you know, nobody was doing it. And then it just became, luckily for us, it became, you know, had such an impact that it changed everybody's opinion of what you could do with the medium, which is always good, you know. But, yeah.
Do you have like a favorite animator or animators that you looked up to as a kid or even now that you're like, wow, their stuff is amazing?
I mean, you know, as far as there's so many different kinds, because there's TV and then there's, you know, feature animation, and there's so many. I mean, you know, James Baxter, the Disney animator, was always sort of when I was kind of learning to animate, he was sort of my, you know, hero, because he's so, you know, he's just a great actor. He's almost like a throwback to Frank Thomas, you know, where you just have this precision drawing that this guy's doing, and it's almost mind blowing, inapproachably good. But yeah, so he was definitely one, and Glenn Keane. I know these are not original choices, but those are just guys that it's like saying I like Meryl Streep. Yeah, of course, but you know,
I mean, who doesn't?
Who's better? You know. But you know, John Kay was what he did was really awesome, and you know, he was definitely somebody who came along, and you know, I don't think you have to imitate John Kay the way a lot of people did, but just to kind of look at what he did, you know, in a general sense, and just revolutionize, you know, make his own version of, you know, those types of cartoons.
John Kay is on John Crickfalucci or Falucci?
Yeah, Crickfalucci.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. But
I never did learn to pronounce that.
Yeah, Crickfalucci. I don't know. I'm just saying. That's why I'm saying K. But yeah, I mean, there's so many now. I mean, I tend to, you know, look at the show creators and all that. It's just a big, you know, mix right now, because a lot of them are animators and some of them aren't. So, you know, I kind of have a lot of heroes in the industry, kind of like at all levels. But, you know, straight animate, just animation, 2D animation is almost going away in America. So, you know, there's not as many people that you can just really, there aren't as many people getting the spotlight anymore. It seems like, you know, that old group that Glenn Keane and Baxter were part of are so almost sort of like the last of the well-known animators. I'm sure Pixar has got a building full of, you know, amazing artists, I'm sure, but, you know, I just don't know all of them, you know.
Yeah, the only traditional 2D people I can still kind of think about is like Ghibli and Miyazaki, but he's even doing digital stuff now.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Miyazaki's movies are, you know, awesome, and of course, you know, he's definitely a hero. I just wasn't thinking about him, but yeah. And you know, what's cool about him is that in Japan, he's like their Spielberg, and he does animation. You know, it's like on the same level. And it's Japan has really for decades had, you know, such an openness to different art forms. You know, from their home video market, which, you know, in the early days of DVDs, they grew this big, you know, straight to video market where, you know, a lot of the directors were famous, you know, and they're just making straight to video movies, and then animation as well, and manga. I mean, you know, if you know, in Japan, everybody reads manga, like everybody. There's no restriction on you're the type of person to read it or not. And as a result, they have manga for everything. They got manga about volleyball players on a volleyball team. And it's like, so they have powers? No, they're just playing volleyball. And Japan is great that way. And so, yeah, the Japanese Spielberg is an animation guy, and that's awesome. You know, I wish we had that here. Maybe we will eventually. But yeah, I think things will change. I think that, you know, streaming is kind of changing everything. I think it's changing, you know, it's changing the formats. So that will change what we do with the medium as well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like, do you binge it or do you watch it like weekly? And some people are really not on board with waiting anymore. They want to watch it all at once. And
Yeah, I kind of feel that way. You know, but you know, and also, you know, why does the show have to be 22 minutes? It doesn't. You know, why does a movie have to be 2 hours? It doesn't. It could be 5 hours. It could be 1 hour. It could be anything. You know, with streaming, it'll change. It'll end up changing everything. It'll change the entire medium. You know.
and then for what kind of got you started working in visual arts? Was there like a teacher that got you into it? Were you always drawing? Like, how did you get into this kind of like medium?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people in animation grew up drawing, and I was no exception. But I have, you know, both of my parents were artistic when I was a kid. My dad drew. I have an older brother. He drew. And I think I was just around it and started drawing from really, I don't remember when I wasn't drawing. So as far back as I can remember, I was just doing it for fun. And, you know, so you kind of grow up doing it, and you know, if you're doing it every day, you kind of get good at it and you get the feedback from that. And so I think that's probably the story for 80% of people in animation, is that they just started drawing early. And so, yeah, I grew up drawing. And when I was in my early adulthood, I was interested in live action too. But my brother had gone to animation school. And so I started meeting a lot of animators, and when I was in my early adulthood. And at the time I lived in Orlando, Florida, where they had a Disney studio. And so you know, some of the first people I met in animation were Disney animators, and they were very, very inspiring because, you know, their skill level was, seemed impossible when I first started to meet that type of person, you know, because I was someone who I drew and I was better than like you know, the average person on the street. But these guys were like, you know, God tier level artists.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so it was very motivating just to try to get better at drawing. And so I remember going out drawing with my brother and some of these guys to like the zoo and things like that. And the way I got into animation is I kind of just fell into it. It wasn't even related to any of that stuff. I think somebody wanted somebody to do an animated greeting card, and I did that, and really literally that just snowballed into other things. And so I really started learning it in a haphazard way. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to make it work. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed. I really just sort of fell into it, you know. So I did not go the traditional route at all, you know.
I mean, that's kind of amazing. You're making these like moving greeting cards, and it leads to stuff like Bojack Horseman, The Great North,
Yeah,
all those kind of things later. But
Yeah.
it's just kind of such a, as you said, like not a traditional start. Most people, it's like you go to animation school, you get a job at Disney doing like kind of like grunt work, and you work your way up to doing other things. And
yeah, it was never a conscious decision to get into it. And when I first got into it, I was, you know, I had one foot in live action and was trying to do that, and one foot in animation. And yeah, it just sort of, it took on a life. Animation just took on a life of its own for me. And I ended up, you know, working on a pilot when I was really young back in those days. And so, yeah, it wasn't a conscious choice. I just kind of fell into it. And then I had to scramble to get good enough to keep doing it, you know? So
Wow.
that's pretty much it, you know, it just sort of happened.
I did look at your IMDb, and I saw a lot of those shorts in there.
Mhm.
And you've done like visual kind of effects. You've done all kinds of different things, cinematography, editing, and those kind of like live action movies. Like, did that help you kind of transition to become a director later in animation?
I think so, yeah. Because I mean, I always viewed myself as a director. I mean, that's what I grew up kind of wanting to do since I was a little kid. And I just kind of drew for fun. But I was always making little movies and things like that as a kid. And that's just what I wanted to do since I was probably 7 or 8. And so when I got in, when I grew up, I started, was able to do stuff, I was making live action movies and little shorts and things like that. And so when I got into animation, it was not a long walk for me to start directing. I really started directing kind of right away because, in animation, the difference between a director in animation and a director in live action is that in animation, you have to be able to draw because you have to be able to draw whatever idea you have to draw it. Since I was able to do that, it wasn't that hard. I mean, there's a lot of it that I kind of grew up doing. And so it's a pretty easy fit, Now, granted, I've gotten a lot better at it since then. So 20 years old, but but yeah, it was a pretty easy fit for me to start doing that. And I was lucky to get in positions where people would let me do it. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of just stuff happening at that time back when I was in my early 20s.
I'm just like picturing this montage of like training with like the Disney people and like Mr. Miyagi and stuff, and you're just like sketching and they're just like, no, do it again. And then finally it's just like hold it up and like, he's ready.
I did have mentors that were like that were like, okay, well, you're going to start drawing simple shapes and get good at doing that. And, because, in animation, you hear them talk about draftsmanship. There's a literal drafting that you have to kind of get good at. Growing up drawing doesn't really prepare you for that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I had mentors who were really tough, really like Pai Mei in the Kill Bill movies, just kind of brutal. And, I was a young adult. I wasn't a kid. And so, it hurt my feelings at the time, but, that's what you have to do. You have to like be willing to go back to the basic stuff that you think you're good at. And so a lot of times if you have a mentor who gives you basic stuff, it just reveals holes in your game. You realize like, oh, I really thought I was good at drawing that thing. I thought I had it figured out, drawing basic cubes and stuff like that. But no, I'm not that good at it.
I would be nervous. I feel like I would be very nervous in that situation.
Well, I mean, I was on my own time, there was I was learning it as fast as I could back then, but, it's not like somebody was going to come in and shoot me if I didn't get good at it at a particular time, you just keep doing the best you can, and eventually over a decade and a half, you get okay at it,
Mike, you're giggling down there. What are you thinking?
No one's gonna come in and shoot me just got me, so I'm trying to be quiet. I don't want to interrupt the flow here, but
I was just thinking of that Eric Andre meme where he walks in and just shoots Hannibal Buress, and he's just like, "Why can't you draw cubes right?" Just like, oh man.
Yeah, 2-point perspective is a killer.
Yeah, until you get a handle on it, it is.
And I guess like you talked about like making the greeting cards and like being good at drawing and meeting the Disney animators and things like that. Was there like a moment where like that light kind of like where you're like you flip the switch where you're like, I'm gonna be done with live action. I think this is what I want to do. This is my thing.
Yeah, well, there almost was in my case. I mean, not that I'm done with live action. I still don't think I'm done with it. But, I was basically an independent director, animation person for a really long time, for about 10 years. And, I had a little production company and I worked with my brother who's also in animation, and we would do little pilots and we'd do whatever project came up. And so I was kind of in a bubble for a really long time. And at one point I went to work for another studio, and that was 6 Point Harness here in Los Angeles. And that was really the first time that I had done that. Worked with a whole different group of people and all that kind of thing. And while I was working on the project there, it was sort of the first time I realized that I actually have something that I could give, that I could contribute to the art of animation and the medium and stuff like that. Because before that, I really didn't think that way. I thought that I'm doing animation on the side, sort of, but not really. And then, but I'm really a live action writer, director person. And then a light did kind of go off, and go on. Light went off. Light went on. It went on, and I realized that, yeah, I think maybe I have something to give here in this medium, you know, because I was just, it was the first, I up until that point had not been around that many animators, you know. I was around them, and, you know, we would hire them up for various projects and stuff like that. But all of a sudden I was around dozens and, you know, 100 people, you know. And so, yeah, there almost was a sudden shift like that for me. And then after that, I realized, oh yeah, you know, maybe I could take this a little bit more seriously, you know, and go full force in the animation world. So.
We thank our friend Joel Moser, the director, not of Bob's, but he directed so many others of cartoons that we all love.
You're really
Well,
good at
thank you,
these.
Joel Moser. Thank you. These ditties just come to my head. It's amazing. Okay, yeah, the gods of music copyright are going to strike me down. Please don't. Anyway, but again, thank you very much for that incredible interview, JB, for setting it up with Joel Moser, who.
No, and I want to thank Joel. That it was an awesome time. It went late, but I had a blast, and I would not have traded sleep in for that. We ended up getting into all kinds of different things.
Yeah, afterwards we were clinking root beers and, you know, chowing down pizza together. It was all virtual pizza, but that's how cool this was, getting to interview somebody who's really made a huge name for himself in the animation industry. Mm-hmm. And it was a real privilege getting to talk with him. So thank you again for setting that up.
No problem. He had only nice things to say too for new, like up and coming animators and artists and things. It was just really great to hear.
I go hungry, I'd go black and blue. I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to meet the fan of the week. The fan of the week. JB, and you picked a really good one this week.
I try. So for this week, I picked out someone local for me. She's from Columbus, Ohio. She went to Columbus College of Art and Design. I've talked to her a few times, and she eventually would like to be on the show. But beforehand, I figured why not give her a shout out, because she does some amazing Bob's artwork. Her name is Sarah Lacey. She makes some killer artwork. When I first started noticing her stuff online, she was making blueberry bags. And they had Marshmallow, Tina, like it was just amazing the stuff she was doing. And she hand paints everything, and it has its own quality to it. It's just really cool. The latest one she put out was a Tim Burton style photo of Bob and Linda. And people love these, with like the Belchers at the beach. And then they have all kinds of stuff like family portraits. She did like little frame inserts for the holidays. She does amazing holiday work too, with Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween. Like it's great to see all the stuff she can put out there.
Okay, yeah, I'm right on her Facebook page right now. I'm seeing all these things you're talking about. It's really unusual now for me to see someone who's actually working with their hands to use real paints, using real ink, using real reeling pencil. And stretching canvas. I thought this is stuff that is not done anymore anywhere in the world, and yet here we are. It's some beautiful work here.
I feel like that's like how me and her first started talking, is that she's like, do you actually, I think, hand draw your stuff? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, I actually hand paint my stuff. We're like, I feel like we're just this old school people who are just like, no, I'm not going digital. And it's like, but then it's like, I wish I could go digital. It's so easy. But then at the same time, it doesn't have that quality to it that I really like. So no, but
agreed. Yeah, I've seen through the years of working with artists that you really have to become a master of materials engineering. So you have to know what pen works with this kind of paper, or how this different kind of paper will respond to a brush of a certain thickness or a pencil of a certain weight. It's extremely technical, but it's stuff that you do have to master in order to become a real a really skilled artist at working with these pieces.
And she definitely possesses, I mean, she works on so many different mediums. I just saw she made like ceramic pots. She does, I mean, all kinds of other ones. And some of my favorite ones, there's some jewelry. I know she's made some ornaments, Christmas ornaments. But some of my favorite ones, I think, was one of her first ones she did was just it was a watercolor painting, or maybe she watered down acrylic, but it was of the storefronts. But it looks like it was just kind of raining it down. And it just looked really interesting. And I'm sure once I can find some of these, we'll post them on here so everyone can see them. But she does some amazing work. And she does commissions. She welcomes it if she's not too busy. And I mean, she's just a great person to work with.
I just found something. You all have to look for this one. It's it looks like she painted a Sears portrait studio photograph of Gail and Mr. Business.
Yes, that like 1970s with like Gail like facing to the side and Mr. Business over here in the background is staring. Yeah.
There's a star field with fake sun flares everywhere.
It's perfect.
The only thing that I would possibly suggest if I ordered one of these for myself would be if she added a second picture. Now, the first picture has Gail staring off in the distance like that, but what I would want is like my face like that right behind her, and then Mr. Business in front on the other side. That would make it the complete Sears portrait. Go see Sarah Lacy. That's SAIRAH LACY, and she's on Facebook. Sarah Lacy. Folks, that actually will bring us to the end of this episode of From North to Wharf. Now, thank you so much for joining us. We have some wonderful episodes coming up for you. There's some big interviews happening. First off, however, we have the new interview. Who's we getting interviewed next there with JD?
Oh, sure. Yeah. The upcoming interview that we have, of course, will be Jose from TikTok. You may have seen him doing impressions of Linda. He does an amazing Linda Belcher. So he's going to be joining us to answer questions about like what it's like to do that, doing voice work, just what got him into Bob's Burgers, and just how the fans have kind of reacted to him. And if you have any questions you'd like us to ask him, or like things you may want to hear in Linda voice, we're fine with doing a few of those. Go ahead and post those below in our comment section. Let us know. It's been nothing but a good sport for us.
And some of the other huge interviews, we're really lucky to get these people. Director of Bob's Burgers and the Great North in Central Park, Mario Joseph Diana, is going to be joining us for not one, but two interviews. It's going to be really amazing. So all of you animation fans, all of you people who want to actually get started in animation or are looking to get a career in that, you're definitely not going to want to miss any of those episodes. And in addition, we're going to get the legendary Simon Chong as well. Now, we claim him in Asian America for ourselves, but he's actually the Welshman who got the job, at Bob's Burgers for creating that incredible mashup of Archer and Bob's Burgers called I Had Something for This Burger. So we're going to be interviewing him too in the future. Actually, this week we're going to be talking to him. So, and the interview will be posted sometime in the next month. They're not the only ones we have though. JB has proven to be a wizard at lining up incredible people from Bob's Burgers, the Bob's Burgers universe to interview. And like, for example, who do we have coming up soon?
So we were able to nail down quite a few of these this week, which has been amazing. But we have Rachel from Our Little Creations. She does amazing dioramas of the front of Bob. She's done Duncanville. She's made some for Amy Poehler, actually. So she's made some really amazing things, and a lot of them light up, and they're just perfect miniatures. So she's going to show off some of those to us and talk to us about what it's like to make those and be in that world, and kind of her love for Bob's and Great North and Duncanville. And then also we're going to go ahead and have an interview with Brooke Kessling. Now, she's an executive over at Bento, and she's part of bringing in talent. So after you listen to Mario, you might want to listen to Brooks. She's going to tell you what they look for at Bento Box when it comes to animators, storyboard artists, what you need to know, and how to get a job in that kind of field. If you want to be part of the Bento family, she's probably going to give you some good info of that, plus some stories about how she got there and kind of that whole world that getting into animation and getting into this kind of thing.
Now remember, listening does not guarantee you employment in Bento Box Communications or entertainment. However, it does make you cool if you listen.
Thank you, KSK, for the legal. But yes,
Absolutely.
that is very true. We also have one of the writers from the Great North coming on. We have Ted Travelstead. He said that once he is done writing the next season, he will be more than happy to stop in and chat with us. So maybe we'll get a few details about what to expect. Maybe nothing huge, but at least some tidbits of what we might expect from the Great North season 2.
Fantastic.
And along the same circle, though, we also got the music coordinators for the Great North. We have Scott Cyber and we have John Kimbrough coming on too.
Fantastic, man. Okay, well, I think that's a lot of things to look forward to. So remember, keep looking, subscribe to us. We're going to be on YouTube is our main thing. We don't have an actual YouTube handle yet. It's some sort of long hexadecimal gibberish, but you can find us on Instagram from North to Wharf. Twitter, we're from North to Wharf. On Facebook, we're from the Great North to Wonder Wharf. You can find us on the Facebook group, the giant one with 170,000 members. We're on there all the time. And well, I guess that'll do it for this week's edition of North to Wharf, the podcast that's all about you, the fans of Bento Box Entertainment and their great shows. Our thanks always to our listeners, to our supporters, and the incredible people over at Bento Box Entertainment who have been nothing but supportive and kind and generous in us bringing our new podcast to you.
They've been nothing but awesome to us.
Absolutely. So, hey, today's Sunday. Don't forget to watch the new episodes of Bob's and the Great North. Oh, a little Hollywood tip. If you watch them live as opposed to watching them on your DVR, that makes their numbers higher. And it makes it that much more likely that Fox will say, oh, we can't cut these, but we need Bob's and the Great North forever. So please, if you can, watch them live and make them even stronger than they are.
Yes.
And on that creepy, creepy note, for myself and JB and Mike, may your foot get better soon. We missed you, buddy.
Yes,
we'll see you next time on From the Great North to Wonder Wharf. Great to north and wharf. Wharf to north, wharf to north, wharf to north, north to wharf. We're going north to wharf and wharf to north to wharf. See you next time, folks. Thanks.
See you guys.